All right, and we are live on the YouTube, which is awesome. Now we are going live on the Instagram. Then we'll be all good. Welcome to another episode of TR's Cocktail Hour, your favorite Saturday evening drinking show. Tonight we're gonna have a really good time. We're gonna take another little trip into my book of cocktails, a twist on a classic cocktail that I invented called the Nassau Manhattan. We'll be doing that. Of course, we'll be taking call-ins. This is a live call-in show. You can call in on the Instagram. We're still working on getting a call-in system for the YouTube set up yet here. Most likely going to go through Discord, but once that's set up, of course, you guys will be the first to know. All right, but excellent. Before we obviously take any calls, we're going to go over the cocktail for the evening. We're going to be doing one cold and one bold. And for those who are uninitiated here, basically, we do this, one, for two reasons. You know, people are going to say, Tristan, this is just an excuse for you to drink twice. Well, yes, it is. But two, it's because in the golden age of cocktails, the late 1800s, early 1900s, well, the mid to late 1800s, arguably into the early 1900s, ice was something of a scarcity. It wasn't nearly as common as we have today. Electric refrigerators were very new technology even in the early 1900s. They were a very rare thing. You really didn't see that come in until post-World War II. And even then, you know, ice boxes were very, very common even at that point. So a lot of drinks were served room temp. A lot of the famous cocktails we know today that we enjoy on ice or in chilled glasses were served at room temp. So we do one in most likely the most traditional way someone would have enjoyed it. You know, room temp, no ice involved. And then, of course, we do one the more modern way with ice involved. We've actually already mixed the bold. We call it the cold and the bold because cold cocktails go down a lot smoother than bold ones do, hence the name. Bold and cold. They taste a lot more bold. So anyway, let's get into this, and then we'll start taking some calls. And we'll have some fun discussion. Some interesting stuff has happened. This isn't quite our normal news show, but we might talk about some things you may have seen of me on Telegram or Twitter if you're in the same political spheres. But anyway, let's get into the drink. As you saw, I actually did post the recipe this week, which was, very brilliant of me, because believe it or not, I do remember things from time to time. So anyway, you're going to want your mixing tin. This is one we're going to be mixing in the tin and not in the glass, because we're using a stem glass, typical champagne or high cocktail glass. We're going to start with our rum. I am very particular on my rum on this because I've had this with a lot of different rums. And tonight we are using Bacardi 8-Year. It's one of my favorite rums to use with this because it's a very sweet aftertaste to it. Really, really nice. PogChamp says, haircut check. So true. That's one of the big news. I have it all slicked back today. Normally I part it on the side. But I did. I chopped off all the long hair. One, because it's winter and I like wearing hats. And wearing hats with long hair just looks weird. I either look like a really pale Native American with the long hair like peeking out under the hat, or I look like an outlaw, of which I am neither. Well, I am a Native American. But I am not an outlaw. At least not in the legal definition. I feel like an outlaw. To be a conservative in the modern day, to be an actual conservative is really, really quite like feeling like an outlaw. But yeah, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to take our Bacardi 8-Year, and we are going to drop a shot of that. I do measure in shots, some very elitist bartenders like, you should be measuring it in ounces, you should be giving your formula in ounces. Well, it's like, then people have to look up what ounces to shot, and I like to be accessible. That's one of the things I pride myself on, is making elegance accessible. So I'm going to measure it how people are going to measure it at home. And most people, unless you already know this stuff, in which case I'm not really trying to reach you, because you're already there, then, I'm going to do it the way the average person who I want this to reach and affect will read it. And then we do 1/2 shot. You got our Jigga, and we're just going to throw that half shot of dark sweet vermouth. Tonight I am using Tribuno. It's quickly become my favorite. Honestly, I like it. I'm starting to like it a little more than Martini and Rossi. Not a huge difference. Not a huge difference in price or quality. They're both very good. Put that over here. You always want to keep your vermouth cold, by the way. Otherwise it goes bad. Nobody wants that. And then, let me put a lid on this rum here. The last thing we want is for this to give away. And then we're just going to throw in 3 dashes of Angostura Bitters. You can find this just about anywhere. I think everyone should have this. Even if you're not a huge cocktail maker, this stuff goes in just about everything. Oh, beautiful. I wear this as cologne if it wouldn't make me smell like an alcoholic. Just throw 3 dashes in there. Easy peasy. I like to keep it small. The stuff, bitters are very concentrated. You don't need a whole lot to get done with what you need to get done. Now, this is the part of the Manhattan, with the exception of rum instead of rye, that things get a little more complicated. They get a little bit more kind of homegrown, modified. So we're going to be using Cardamom Bitters, which is one of my favorite. The lighting is so flooded in here. I'm working on a better lighting setup. We're working on a higher quality camera as well. But we're working with Cardamom Bitters from Fee Brothers, one of my favorite bitters in my collection, probably my favorite. I use in a lot of my signature cocktails. And we're going to be taking the orange peel you would normally use, and we're actually going to dash the orange peel before we put it in the drink. And you can do this one of two ways. You can either, I'm going to do it both ways on this, so we're going to have to go light. But you can press it against the lid and dip it just a little bit, and you get a little bit of it on there, and it starts to soak into the peel, which is good. You're getting that flavor. Or, I'm going to do this both ways. It's just a drop here. 2 drops. There we go. Or you can drop a little bit into the base of your glass if you got the time. You put it face down, and you just rim that glass a little bit with it there, soaking the underside, not the hide side, because that's where the oils are stored that give the garnish its flavor capacity. And what this is doing is it's soaking in there, and it's kind of mixing with the oils and the natural juices of the orange peel. And then you're going to, like you normally would, to expose those oils a little bit. You can kind of see it kicking off there just a little bit. You're going to twist it, and you're just going to lay it in there for right now. Don't worry, there is a method, and you're going to obviously put on your stuff away so you don't knock anything over. A man likes to speak with his hands. The last thing I'd want is to knock anything over. And you're just gonna make sure you don't build up a lot of air pressure in there. Nothing in here is carbonated, so you don't have to really worry about it. But it's prudent. And then once that's done, you can tell it's good and mixed when the whole glass, or the whole tin, is nice and cold to the touch. And then, last but not least, we take our glass. We let the spirit pass over and around the garnish. Rotate it around there, some will get trapped behind the ice. And boom, we have a cold and we have a bold. Obviously, we'll be drinking the cold first so we get the maximum effect and we get the best taste palette. And we can really compare. But since we got these two mixed, we do have a question here. We're going to go over that. PogChamp. We love PogChamp. He's always up here supporting the show. I scored on that Houndstooth Blazer. It's double stitch, 3-button, around $10. Yo, we love our 3-button. We love our double stitch. 3 buttons are good. They're much taller. They make you look much taller because they have a higher buttoning point. It's a very authoritative, structured look, much like tall collars. If you saw what I was wearing today, I took it off for this because it's a cocktail hour. You know, we like to be cozy in the cocktail hour. But the tall collars are really nice. They're very structured, much like a 3-button jacket. It creates this much more vertical, authoritative, structured, masculine aesthetic and demeanor, which is, of course, you know, why would you dress up if not to look more classically masculine? I mean, if you're watching this, you haven't figured that out. Come on, dude. Let's do a little IQ check on those people, would you please? All right, and here we go. Here's the cold Nassau Manhattan. Ooh, that's smooth. That's really nice. Of course it's really nice. I invented it. I made it. How's it going to be bad? If it was bad, I wouldn't tell you. Kidding. No, if you'd like me to do some like intentionally bad cocktails and, you know, just for the fun of it, I may entertain that. But no, this is really nice. Yeah. Oh, what's really nice, and the cardamom really brings out the citrus, which is really cool. It really is a really nice way to really bring out the citrusy notes in your garnish, is by putting that cardamom in there, which not only, you know, blends in well with the Angostura and the rum, but it really brings out those citrusy notes out of the entire garnish. So you really get a slightly more significant contribution by the garnish than you would in a typical Manhattan, because that cardamom really drives out those flavors. So it's absolutely fantastic in that way. You really don't get much of the cardamom, which is kind of nice because you don't want it really engaging kind of a combat with the Angostura bitters. So you really have that, obviously, that nice influence of the Angostura. And the Angostura brings a certain bitterness to the rum, which is really nice. Because rum, especially this one, is a very sweet, dark rum. And the Angostura really brings a certain maturity to it. That, I mean, it's obviously, it's an 8-year rum. It's dark. It's aged because it's dark. It's gonna, it's naturally gonna have a bit of maturity to it. But the Angostura really brings a certain sense of maturity to that rum. It really dresses it up in a really good way. And obviously the vermouth is there. The vermouth, in my opinion, you can go lighter than a half shot if you really want to. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it actually affects the palate a little bit to have too much vermouth in there as you start to, because the wine just kind of is almost this, it's this very bold vehicle for the spirit more often than not, which is not to its benefit in my opinion, because you're there for the, you're there for the spirit. Oh, we have another question. 76 Fest wants to know, what cocktails are you making at Squatch Tober? So there's a couple that I can make. I actually haven't decided what will be on the cocktail menu at Squatch Tober. Most likely Sazeracs. Like to do some absinthe. Just like absinthe, ice water, and sugar. Just because, absinthe is this like gothic cultural association. It's the spooky spirit. So it would make sense. I may do one if I can find all the ingredients. One of my other signatures, based on my favorite song, it's called the Headless Thompson Gunner. And for those who are Warren Zevon fans, you'll know that one very well. And it's based on the end of that song. I used to call it Roland's Revenge, because if you listen to the song, it ends with Van Owen in a barroom drinking gin. So it's based around that. And so that may be on the menu as well, because it's a death drink, so it's, it's fun. Where we may do some of my more classic cozy signatures like the Dreadnought. Based by racial. Absinthe pilled. Yes, so true. Absinthe pilled is a good way to be. Very true. Now, this is a call-in show. Don't forget, if you want to call in, get on here on the Instagram. Come on live for a little bit. Talk about what's on your mind. We can have good conversations, because a lot of interesting stuff has happened since I was last on here. I griped Charlie Kirk since we were last here. So if anyone who's seen that wants to talk about it, come on. Anything anyone wants to talk about, open forum. It is the cocktail hour, and the art of manly conversation is the main point of the cocktail hour. Based and cocktail pilled. So true. Saturday night, based and cocktail pilled. At the end of the day, I understand why some people are anti-drinking in the right-wing world, but I think it's I think it's foolish to do so unless you have a real legit reason. I think you should know how to drink. I think most men should know how to drink. They should know what they like, what they don't, what their tolerances are, and how to spot someone else who's in a similar mindset, so they can, if their friend has too much to drink, they know what it's like to be in their shoes, so they know how to better handle and help their friends. It's a very important life experience, in my opinion. Even if you don't want to, if you don't want to have a cocktail hour every week, I think it's good. I think it's a fine form of meditation. Especially if you're stressed, just a nice, even if you're not trying to make a whole cocktail, a nice glass of cognac, and just like a vinyl record is such a nice way to spend an evening. It sounds kind of corny, but it really is. Like, I'll cut out all the lights, nothing but a couple of oil lamps, and just a little sipping glass, and I'll listen to, maybe Warren Zevon or Marty Robbins. I've got a couple Marty Robbins albums that I like quite a bit. Obviously, Gunfighter Ballads is my go-to, but D for Dalton Clydfelter. It's Clodfelter. I think he'd be rather offended, PogChamp, if he knew you were misspelling his name in my chat. I would like him to come on, because he had a little bit of a wrestle with e-girls at about the same time I was griping Charlie Kirk, so that could be fun. Someone get Dalton Clodfelter up in here so we can talk about this e-girl stuff. Because I caught that totally by accident, and that was funny. That was impressive. PogChamp again. Are you much of a beer drinker? I'm really not. I've had maybe a dozen beers my whole life. I don't mind them. But I'm much more of a spirits guy. I like rums. I like bourbons. I like gin. I like absinthe. I'm just more of a spirits guy. I think the flavors are more pronounced. All right, we have a caller, finally. JP Senzo. We know this guy. We know this guy. Everyone welcome JP Senzo. He's been on the show before. He's a good guy. We like him. Kraken rum. I've had Kraken rum before. It's I've had artificially spiced Kraken rum, which I'm not a fan of artificial spicing. If you want to spice your rum, spice it yourself. Hey JP, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, man?
Oh, nothing much, brother. Just hanging in there. What you been up to? Poor guy's lagging out.
Not much.
You okay there? Seem to be lagging out a little bit. Your signal all right?
Kind of lagging out over here.
So
I don't know. My signal's a little off, but...
Little boomer tech there. I can kind of hear you. I don't know if your blur is an attempt to remain anonymous or not.
Maybe not.
So what's on your mind?
Well, shill alert. Am I back?
You seem to be sticking around a little bit now. You're like a father in Chicago. You just keep popping in and out of the picture. Jeez, I don't know what. Senzo, we're gonna have to. You may want to call back whenever you're doing better there. Anyway, so we are gonna move on to our next cocktail here while Boomer Tech here gets that figured out. So we are next gonna do the bold. We did the cold, now we're gonna do the bold, which, like I said, this is all room temp, so it is gonna hit the palate much differently. And then we're gonna see how it is. So you already get a different nose. It's actually, you still have a lot of those citrus notes there, but you definitely have more of the rum kind of falling in on that citrus. I don't know why I love rum so much. I think I was in the Bahamas in a past life. Oh yeah. Oh, you know how I said you don't really get the cardamom with the cold? You really do get it with the bold. That cardamom is there, and it is a guest of honor. But it's not really fighting with the Angostura like I'd predicted. It pairs well. Like, you can definitely taste the difference between the two. They're both there. You get really the more forward taste of the cardamom, and then the aftertaste of the Angostura, which I don't hate. I do not mind this at all. You still get a lot of that citrus, obviously. You definitely have some of those aspects of the kind of mid-weight of the rum up in there. Oh, you almost have a bit of spice to it. That's kind of nice. Like I said, the aftertaste of the Angostura creates this nice spice at the end. It's really, really nice. It goes down really smoothly, and it has just this little pop of spice right at the end there. That is nice. That is enjoyable. All right, Senzo's coming back here. Let's give him another try. Let's give him another try. See if he got Boomer Tech figured out here. Who knows? Who knows?
All right. I think it's back.
You think it's back?
Now it's back, kind of.
Okay. All right, Senzo, so what's on your mind? Yeah, we are. Yeah, after this show.
So that should be based.
I think it will be.
We got a lot to talk about. You know, we got that epic Charlie Kirk question. I'm gonna ask you about that.
Yeah.
And we got other stuff, you know.
Oh yeah, no, it'll be exciting. I'm very down. Where will it be streaming at?
Oh yeah. It'll be on you. Scott and Senso Show.
Okay.
YouTube channel.
Very cool.
Yep. So, I just wanted to come on and remind you about that.
I don't forget that easily. Come on now, don't go after my intelligence like that. I get it, I'm Irish, but I'm not that stupid. This guy.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yep, Irish versus Italian.
Very true. The Anglo-Med rivalry will be one of the greatest in America First history.
So true, so true.
It always will be, you know.
Yep.
I'm a Med respecter. I respect the Meds. I got a little bit of Med in me somewhere. More Anglo than not. I got to pick the Anglo side of that conflict, but I'm a Med respecter. I know they're still coping about Ethiopia. You know, I get it.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing.
We were Romans, and we conquered like.
We was Romans. We was Romans. Yeah.
We was Romans, man.
And we was 25% of the Earth's surface. Just saying.
Yeah. Alright, Chief. See you at 10:30.
See ya. Take it easy.
Take it easy, man.
Let's see who we can invite to this. I'm going to invite some people. See if we can get some folks in the cocktail hour here. Should we invite Sage? I don't know. Should I invite Sage? We'll invite Kai. We'll invite a few other folks. I'm not going to invite Sage. It's a dead meme. It died out like a week ago. I'm not going to give that guy any more attention than he deserves. Geez, the buffet probably gives him enough attention as it is. But no, I really do appreciate this rum. Because as you get through the cocktail, especially in the bold form, you really do get more of the rum. And there you really, which is strange because the highest proof aspect of the cocktail, especially considering it's been sitting here for a few minutes, you think it would have separated at least a little bit and it would have risen to the top because the more alcohol content something has, the less dense it is. Fun fact of the day, kids. And it is, and it allows it, you know, obviously when you're drinking at room temp, you don't have the cold obviously holding things together. And when it's been sitting there for a few minutes, like it has, almost 20 minutes, you would think it would sit more at the top, but it really doesn't. It really stays with the whole spirit, which is really, really nice. Like I said, rum and cardamom go together. I've got several cocktails that I've done with rum and cardamom. But with this right here, you really get an interesting profile. And this is one of the reasons I love Nassau Manhattans. It's also a fun thing to order when you go to bars. You just ask for a Manhattan with rum instead of rye. They're not gonna dash the orange peel for you. Some places don't even do garnishes, which is pretty cringe. If you're going to a bar that doesn't do at least, you know, like an orange peel or a maraschino cherry, come on. I mean, I'm not saying you got to be going to like $1 million bar, but you know, at least the bartender could take his craft seriously, because I've been to some places like that, and it's very disappointing. I once went into a bar, and they said they couldn't make a martini because they don't carry vermouth. Like, what bar doesn't carry vermouth? I'm not even a big martini guy. I just hadn't had one in a while. I was like, yeah, screw it, I'll have one. They couldn't even make it. Heartbroken. I really was. It ruined my entire evening. We got some more folks in the chat. Let's go. Hopefully, you know, like I said, it is a call-in show. Anyone that wants to call in, as long as you keep it optical, you can say what you like. We can talk about anything. Fashion, you know, drinks. Those are my two main ones. But obviously, anything. We can talk about freaking dinosaurs. I love dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are awesome. It's a real shame that some people don't believe in them because I actually was made a very convincing argument by a nun about the existence of dinosaurs, and ever since then I've been a believer in them. Yeah. Me watching this, knowing the bars I go to are white trash redneck bars, there is fun to be had at white trash redneck bars. There really are. Now, good drinks, probably not one of those fun things, but you can watch fights over sport ball teams, which is always a fun pastime. Whew, man, I remember that I used to do stand up at a couple of those kind of redneck bars back in my hometown. Man, those were good times. It was so fun because I was like the only person that did stand up at those things, and a lot of my audience was young Army guys, and man, they got the best sense of humor. Like young, like 11 Bravos, for those of you who know who those are, like best senses of humor in the world. They will laugh at the darkest stuff, and it made my life so much easier. Cause at least I knew somebody was going to laugh at some of the funny, mean things I was saying. Base Irish says do stand-up comedy right now. So I'm not going to do a whole like bit right now. I will tell my favorite story that came out of all my years of stand-up. And I was just roasting the audience because I had already done my bit, but I wanted to eat up some more time on stage. So I had the house manager, I signaled her to bring the lights up, and she did. And I see right in front of me, there's this chick with a green bowl haircut and all her dumb little college friends, because we were right across the street from a college that had a really large art program. So naturally, you get a lot of art majors floating in there, and those are the best to make fun of. Artists are the easiest people to make fun of in the world, it is never not rewarding to make fun of an artist. So I say to her, I ask her, because she got the green bowl haircut. And I asked her, oh, I bet you and your dad get along super well, huh? And like a second, a dead air goes by. Kind of like this right now. And her friends all like look down and they all start kind of giggling and shaking their heads and putting their heads in their hands. And she does the same thing. Like she bends down, she shakes her head, and she's kind of like laughing a little bit. And I said, what's so funny? I haven't even gotten to the punchline yet. And her friend gets up and goes to me, her dad's dead. Her dad died. At this point, I have one of two options. I can either back down or I can go in. So I ask her, did he die of shame? Needless to say, like the four like tables of army guys erupt in boisterous laughter. It was beautiful. Even she starts laughing because I don't think she'd ever heard that before. It was a wonderful evening. It was wonderful. That was my favorite story. Just asking a green-haired girl if her dad died of shame. Like when he got the Bonnaroo tickets in the mail, did the pistol suddenly start to look more friendly? I mean, it would. Not that I would, because I don't want to damn myself to hell. But if I had a green-haired daughter, we started going to like music festivals, it'd be like that scene in Pirates of the Caribbean, and that pistol started to look real friendly. I don't know how I'd handle that. That's why I think, despite wanting to have a huge family, I don't think I'm quite ready to be a dad because I don't have the patience to deal with anything like that. And I know it'll be a while before I'd have to deal with something like that or the threat of something like that. But I just know I wouldn't have the patience then either. I'd get so set in my ways right now. I don't even know and you shouldn't tolerate it. Men and fathers shouldn't tolerate that kind of behavior. But you got to deal with it tactfully. You gotta deal with it so you don't, like, totally, like, divide your family or something like that. I mean, the father holds the family together, but you also, you don't want to be, like, cruel. So, there's a little bit of tact involved in not being cruel. You should be based. You should say based things to your daughter and keep her in line so she doesn't become, like, a career woman or an OnlyFans girl or, a girl in college. You should be stern but benevolent. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be like malevolent, but you shouldn't be, obviously you don't want to be a pushover. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I don't know. Since no one wants to call in, everyone wants to be a coward, I guess I'll just start telling some stories. I'll start talking about things I find interesting and we'll see where it goes. So there's one of the things on my bucket list is to hunt this one crocodile. There's probably the most famous crocodile in human history. crocodile named Gustav. He lives in Burundi, Africa, and he's been around probably for the last 100 years or so in that area. He's a man-eater. He has eaten, I think it was recorded, over 295 people, and an estimated 400 or so more. Of course, with all the civil wars going on there, you can't really ever tell. What documentation is like, it's always kind of shifty. It's like Far Cry 2 over there. What are you going to do? But this crocodile is very real. He has been documented on numerous occasions by numerous people. Many have tried to catch him. Many have tried to shoot him. But nobody has. And he's still out there. So it is on my bucket list to hunt the legendary giant man-eater crocodile Gustav. I'd go to Holland and Holland. I'd have a nice, 500 or even 700 nitro express made for me. That'll set you back, a little bit of money, a little bit of coin. And then, obviously take a little month, maybe even a year-long trip. This crocodile is very elusive. He's very smart. Crocodiles are very smart creatures. A lot of people don't realize this. They are very intelligent animals. They are apex predators, and they are very, very smart. And, you track him, find him, turn him into a pair of boots and a handful of wallets. Nice trophy, too. Be nice in the trophy room. I'd have his mouth line so he'd serve as a nice cigar tray. Me and the boys sitting in the trophy room smoking. I can ash right into the mouth. That'd be kind of cool. Animal rights people would go nuts, but that's kind of half the fun, isn't it? You can't pay for that either. That's the best part. Included in your safari is the ability to piss off every animal rights person you see in the world. It's a beautifully unspoken gift of the safari and big game hunting experience. Man, that story killed my whole view. Man, one hunting bucket list story, and that's all it's got to do to kill it. That is, I'm a genius, man. I'm a genius. I got 2 people in the chat. Let's go. Yeah, no, I don't know. Tonight there's just I guess I can talk a little bit about the I'm going to be talking about it on Senzo's show, but I guess I'll talk about it a little bit here. This is my show. I'll talk about what I want to. So, last week I attended a little event out here in Northern Virginia. Charlie Kirk was speaking at. It was one of his first events for Turning Point USA Faith. And we had heard about the event ahead, me and about a dozen other America First people, and we went. We sat in the back and we watched. And we originally heard that there wouldn't be an opportunity to ask live questions. So we all texted in questions, knowing they probably would not get read. But then when we sit down, the main host, he says, "Oh, by the way, we will have live mics." And my ears prick up at that. Very exciting stuff, the live mic. And so when the discussion is over, and the whole discussion is great. The whole discussion is hilarious. It's all, we need to resist, which a lot of these things are true. We need to resist secularism, and you should not be afraid to speak your mind. Be ready to speak your mind and talk about, Charlie Kirk is just going on this whole tangent about speaking your mind and not being afraid of cancel culture, despite him being one of the main arbiters of cancel culture. We must resist secular society. True Christian morality is the only thing that's going to save this country, which is true. It's just funny that Charlie's just now coming to these realizations, considering people he's defamed had come to these realizations a half decade ago, and he spent, the last half decade canceling them. When you got $25 million, you have the ability to cancel people pretty easily. Who would have thunk? So naturally I ask, when my time comes up, and I'm not going to lie, it's a little bit nerve-wracking when there's no space between you and the person you're trying to ask this question to, and the whole audience is staring at you, all the cameras are on you. It's a little bit nerve, because you don't want to mess it up, because, every eye is on you, and once you ask this or attempt to ask this, every eye is going to be on you. So you really have to make sure your optics are on point. I already was dressed well. I was out-dressing Charlie. Charlie dresses like crap, so it wasn't exactly difficult. I could have dressed up as like a 40s homeless guy, and I would have looked better than this kid. And I asked him, "So, Charlie, the views you espouse..." I can't quite remember how I worded it now. "Oh, you espouse views now that 2 years ago you would have called right-wing extremist. How do you reconcile that with people like Nick Fuentes, who you defamed for holding these views before you? And the dude instantly, as if to like confirm my question, says, "Oh, doesn't that guy like the Taliban?" Like this, like easy, like this dude plays right into it. Like I literally said, you defame people who held your views before you, who disagree with you, and instantly defames the one guy he is scared of. He has nightmares about this guy, and you know he had nightmares about it because he got reminded because he forgot. PogChamp says, at least you didn't rock the CWC fit when you grew up. True, well, you never wear a hat inside. I would never have worn the CWC fit. One, because it was too warm out for a leather overcoat. And two, I wouldn't have, even if I was wearing a hat, which I had actually left at my store, I was wearing a brown bowler hat most of the day, I wouldn't have worn it inside. That's LARPer stuff. Anyone who wears a hat inside is LARPing. Don't trust people who wear hats inside. But yeah, no, it went off about as well as one could have expected. I mean, I didn't expect Charlie to like sit down and be like, "I'm sorry, you're right." I mean, that's just not going to happen. There's going to be no grand like sports movie cinematic victory with this guy. But the key is really just proving our point about this guy and saying like, yeah, you defame Nick Fuentes for having the same views you do now because the Overton window is shifted thanks to him. And the guy instantly deflects to, "Oh, he likes the Taliban." Like, literally defaming the guy for something that's not even true. Nick just made a joke about how the Taliban have torn down more pride flags than Charlie has. Like, that's really the only thing, which is more conservative, so your move, Chuck. Yeah, can we start calling Charlie Chuck? Because one, it's not only is it like a combination of Charlie and Cuck, but it is the shorter, less formal version of Charlie. So it's slightly disrespectful. I like it personally. Better than all this "Let's Go Brandon" crap. That's another thing I'm going to give my opinion on. "Let's Go Brandon" is such cringe. Just say fuck Joe Biden. Just say it. Don't be a pansy. It's such a feminine, like, Facebook mom thing to do. To go, "Oh, I'm saying fuck Joe Biden without saying fuck Joe Biden. I'm saying let's go Brandon." The only person that "Let's Go Brandon" works out for is that Brandon guy that won the race, and Brandon Herrera to a slightly lesser extent. PogChamp says, at least the guy let you ask your question. He interrupted me and kicked me from his venue. Very true. Well, the key is, one, like I said, having really good visual optics. Overdress a little bit. Don't go full costume. Don't wear a hat inside. Be respectful of the event. But that's one of the biggest things you're worried about when you're gonna ask Charlie a question. Is this guy gonna take the mic away? Like, how much time do I have? Are you prepared to are you gonna grab the mic back? To what level are you willing to work to ask this question? Luckily, the mic guard that they had two like old boomer mic guards seemed pretty oblivious until after the fact. And even then, they didn't take the mic away. I could have probably gone back and forth with them a little bit, but I was trying to be respectful. Because that's the key to optics, is still remaining somewhat respectful and honestly giving these people enough rope to hang themselves with. Because that's what Charlie did. Charlie literally said, "I don't have a good answer to that question." After his little defamation, I don't have a good answer to that, and went on a total tangent about being anti-hookup culture, which, by the way, I think everyone who has been around or worked with Turning Point USA is not anti-hookup culture. They never have been. There are stories from every other person I've ever met that worked for them, probably a few in between those every other people as well, that have been invited to, attended, or been coerced into like hookup parties and these coke-fueled after parties after things like CPAC and SAS and all these other kind of things. It's just, that was the perfect moment, because we now have Charlie talking about how he's anti-hookup culture, but his organization is low-key famous for the fact that like teenagers join it purely to go to hookup parties with like people who don't like taxes. Like, that's purely what Turning Point USA is. People who want to hook up by flirting about how much they hate taxes. That's really all the Turning Point USA internships really are. These people, man. Well, someone's got to do it. But, I think we're going to cut it a little short. It seems a little bit slow in the chat tonight. Nobody's really called in. Oh, Here we go. There was a woman sexually molested by Wignats at a SAS this July. I don't doubt it. Wignats are cringe, and TPOSA is cringe. The beautiful hiding aspect is obviously America First and the Groypers. We are not Wignats. We are not Turning Point USA. We don't engage in hookup culture. We despise it. It's degenerate. Wignats, they're okay with it. TPUSA, they're okay with it. Groypers, no. It's disgusting. It's not the way God wanted us to be. Yeah. Very, very true. So true, PogChamp. We love to have PogChamp in the chat. Keeping it alive up in here. But with that being said, we're hitting about the 40-minute mark. And I think I've really said all I need to say tonight. Like I said, later on tonight, I'll be going live with JP Senzo. I may be going live here on YouTube to maybe react to an Alpha M video. I haven't decided yet. But with that being said, this has been a nice cocktail hour. One of my favorite drinks I ever, modified the Manhattan for. We hope you all had a great time. Feel free to check us out for those on Instagram, on YouTube, and for those on YouTube, on Instagram. So, obviously, and follow us on Gab at the Order of Social Antiquity, Telegram at the Order of Social Antiquity. Please check us out. Feel free to send in your super chats. We'll be starting to get into more of those soon. We are trying to upgrade our production value as much as possible in the coming weeks, coming months. We will be building a studio next year. We already have the plans sealed to build an actual content kitchen, like an actual walled studio with a wallpaper, nice vintage wallpaper in the background, some cool frame stuff, including the White Boy Summer movie poster will be in the background. It hasn't all been ironed out, but we do have the space, and it's going to be really, really cool. I'm super excited to get started on that. But that's not going to be till next year after AFPAC and after 76 Fest, which I will be attending and doing a workshop at. But with that all being said, this has been a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed drinking along with us. Feel free to tune in to Senzo's show around 10:30 or so. I do believe we'll be going live with him. But until then, this has been TR's Cocktail Hour. I've been your host, TR. It has been a wonderful evening. Y'all take it easy, and God bless you.